Hello everybody. Today I would like to talk with you about wanting to fail. Yeah, you heard me right. I know it sounds strange. Usually we talk about fear of failure and overcoming fear of failure and becoming comfortable with failing again and again and getting up and moving on and things like that. But I recently discovered there is another part of us that is just as important, but we don't really pay any attention to. And that's the part of us that wants to fail. And it wants to fail for a reason. And I'm gonna give you an example, like a very practical example of what this means. And it's from my own personal experience. So besides giving coaching, I also love receiving coaching. And so when I finished writing my book on finding one's life purpose and calling, I reached out to a friend of mine and asked him to help me out. And he threw this exercise at me. It was the first task he gave me. That was just about envisioning what would the success of my book look like, how would it feel, what would happen, etc. I would go to opera, everything. And then what would the failure look like? Like, how would that feel? What would happen then? And so I started with failure. And I was like, okay, so let's imagine that my book is a complete disaster. What's next? I imagined, okay, maybe I would need to go back to having an office job, and that would be a sort of a limitation of my freedom I might not enjoy that much. And then I would probably also feel quite alone, because I would feel like, oh, I'm the only one that cares about this stuff that I care about, or something like this. So that would make me feel disconnected from the rest of humanity. And there were other examples like that were quite insightful. But there was this moment where I was like, wait, there's something else here. And I realized all of these ideas that I had are not necessarily what will happen, because I've failed before, and I can clearly see that every time I failed, what I did was basically say, oh, that's Zori that failed? Oh, that was just not me. She didn't know that well what she wanted, so that's why she failed. But now this new thing, this is the thing. This is what is gonna work. I'm so happy here. And that's the key. I have this thing of like, whatever is the next step of my life, I find a way to be happy in it. And that's part of human nature. And what really was very surprising for me was finding that part that wants to fail. And it wants to fail because, in my case, it gets to start over. And I love starting over. And I love doing creative things that I've never done before. And I don't like repetitive, incremental kind of work. And you see, if I had not seen that part, I would not honor it in what I'm creating. I would not know, oh, I have this need for novelty, for excitement. And then I should honor it, and I should make sure that I integrate that in my work, and I should make sure that I find people that can complement me on what I don't enjoy doing so much. And that's super important, guys. At least it was for me. And then, by the way, it was just as interesting and surprising to look at success, because just like with failure, the first things that came out were things that would make sense. Like, there were like the things like, okay, I would sell like I don't know how many million copies, I would go to have a TikTok and all of these things. And I was just looking at this and I was like, I don't buy this shit. And I was like, why I don't buy it? It's like there was a part of me feeling like this is wishful thinking. What am I doing here? And I realized that it's not because I'm not allowing myself to imagine I could go there, but it's because what I want as success is not this, because this is somebody else's idea of what a successful book looks like. And that I was being invited to consider what is my own idea of a success of a book. And that threw me back to, okay, so what do I really want? And I realized I really want connection. I really want this interaction with other people that makes me feel like we're kind of both being transformed through this process and interaction we're engaging in. And that's what I love the most. And you see, if I would not honor that, what I would do is I would start writing this book and finding publishers and tra-la-la, and I would exhaust myself because this is not what brings me joy. The reason I wrote this book was that it would facilitate and help me with connecting and more deeply and more effectively work with people. And so I realized my definition of success has to honor this. It has to honor that part of me that does not want to succeed with the first version of what I think is success. And so that's why, guys, I want to encourage you to maybe do that exercise yourself for whatever it is that you want to create as a project. But also, just think about that. Think about what is the part of you that wants to fail? Why does it want to fail? And how you can integrate that resource that it's giving you. Because there is power in that asset that lies behind it, if you look at it. And then looking also at what is success for me. But remembering that there is a part that is just imprinted on you from everybody around you. But there is a part of you that is somewhere deep in your belly that wants its own thing and will not buy into any of the crap that you might feed it because people said so. And so, yeah, I want to encourage you to connect to those parts, guys, and hope you have an amazing day. Take care.